Welcome to the Business of Defense. I'm Rich Brady, your host and CEO at the Society of Defense Financial Management. SDFM proudly sponsors this podcast on Federal News Network. SDFM is the premier association of finance and accounting professionals who work in government and business in the defense sector. Our goal is to bring you inside the companies working to drive change in the defense sector, to hear directly from their business leaders, and to understand how they create value for their companies and their customers. My guest today is Matthew Enekwe, founder and CEO of Crystal Star Associates. Crystal Star is a premier boutique accounting and management firm that provides expert financial services to a diverse range of clients, including startups, nonprofits, and union organizations. Their client-first approach, combined with a lean business model, ensures that they eliminate inefficiencies and reduce overhead for their clients. Crystal Star specializes in providing tailored solutions to meet each client's unique needs, from accounting and management to strategic financial planning. Today, we'll be diving into Matthew's startup journey, his commitment to quality and integrity, and his plans to move into the federal sector. Matthew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Matthew, let's go back to 2011 if we can. You're in graduate school.
Yes.
You're living in a one-bedroom apartment. You're focused on studies. You're just coming out of the Great Recession, and you decide to start a business. What prompted you to do that?
Just to start up, prior to 2011, during the recession in '08, I just graduated. So after graduating, searching for a job, that was the toughest period. And it wasn't the best time for any kid graduating from college during that period, because it kind of crushed your dream. Your dream was like, I graduate, I get a job, I work 9 to 5, because that's what you've been building. So it was kind of like a shocker. So when I got out, I had to be creative. I don't like being idle. So what I did was go in and roll into an MBA program with UMUC. While I was doing the MBA program, searching for jobs, it was still tough. And I decided, hey, I have a bachelor's degree. The people with small businesses, I need to talk to small businesses because a lot of them don't have accountants. So the biggest thing was finding your market. I knew we're in the DMV area. There are a lot of small accounting firms all over the nation. So it was an opportunity for me to create one. So I started the process, started as a sole proprietor. And as I started making a little bit of money here and there, I got excited. And while in grad school, you're learning how to be a business owner, how to structure a company, the essence of outsourcing, the benefits, and it all related to what I was doing, because small accounting firms are kind of like an outsourced firm, because all you're doing is reducing expenses for employers. So with that coming in place, I decided to register the company. So I registered Crystal Star Associates. Also started working with doctors and dentists, because at that point I didn't have a lot of experience. But also I knew I had a skill set. I had a knowledge of accounting. And over time in life, what you do is learn as you go. So what I did was focus on my community, because I'm Nigerian by birth. And I knew in our Nigerian communities, there are a lot of medical doctors and dentists. So what I did was tap into my community. Talked to the doctors and dentists, kept on reaching out to them, seeing who needed services. I got lucky. I secured 2 clients providing services, started working on that. And over time, I realized I needed to grow, change up, because as you start working, you have no training. So you're working doing medical billing. You now realize, if I want to grow this company, I can't grow it up doing medical billing, because you're advising small businesses. Small businesses don't want to pay for services. So you have to get creative. You can still work with small businesses, but you need to expand your market share, expand, and also change your niche. So that now got me more involved in financial management, doing internal accounting. So I pivoted, took a step back, and went into the industry, worked with a smaller firm to build my expertise while running Crystal Star on the side. So when I got to a position where I got enough knowledge and information and understanding about the accounting space, I felt comfortable now to set up the company the way I wanted it, which is providing financial management services and constantly staying investing in myself, in my education, because that's key. You need to know what the changes are. You need to stay ahead of the curve. You need to know what the new regulations are, how those regulations will impact your client, and also how does it impact you, because you're also a small business owner. You also have to manage your own books. So you're doing double work. You're taking care of clients, and also you have to focus on yourself. So you have to take some time out, work on your administration, work on your build out, and all that.
How long did it take you to find some stability in your business, to have a stable customer base?
Oh my.
Or you're still working on that?
I'm still working. It's one of those things, like I tell folks, it's your customer base is greatly upon loyalty. You have to create a loyalty base with your customers. There's going to be a lot of changes, especially when you're in the private sector world, not in the government side, because with changes, when there are internal changes within the business or the organization, you might end up losing your contract. So those are things you have to be mindful about in as much as your focus growing there. And like I said earlier, I started with medical doctors and dentists, but now I'm working with more established business owners, with public charter schools, union organization, contracting companies, law firms, also giving advice here and there, helping start a business, kind of like structure their business and building an accounting function within it. So it's tough. Needless to say, it's tough, which is another reason I'm looking into moving into the federal government contracting side, because as you're aware, every conference and every conference you go to or seminar you go to, one thing the speakers always say is you need to expand, you need to diversify your portfolio. You can't just be locked in the private sector, which means you need to bring some government contracting, federal, state, local. So that's the point we're at now. We're trying to see how can we leverage, how can we get into this system so we can be equal players like all the other small businesses out there.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. What is your current plan for the federal sector or the state and local sector? You've got obviously some baseline understanding. You've got an established business, but moving into federal, state, and local, there's maybe a little higher level of complexity with that. So what steps are you taking to move into that?
That's a great question, Rich, because I've always thought about going into the federal, state, and local sector for a while, but I never knew how to do it. I live in Howard County. Howard County has a great program for small businesses. And 2-3 years ago, the county executive, Calvin Ball, and M&T Bank created a program in partnership with Howard County Economic Development Authority. They created a program for small businesses, an 8 weeks incubator program. That program was so critical and essential for small businesses, because that was what opened my mindset up in terms of like what I was really doing. Because the entire time I had been working in my business. With that program, I was able to understand how to become a leader, how to focus on the growth, and also realize the access and the resources our local government counties have for us, and also the state of Maryland. So within your state and within your local communities, you need to get involved. You need to tap into those resources, because the resources are there. Unfortunately, a lot of small businesses don't know the resources are there. And also it takes time. So I can see why a lot of small businesses are not willing to go into that route, because it takes time, takes preparation. It has to do with a lot of documentation. So if you're not the greatest at having a good documentation system, it's going to be difficult to break out. So what I started doing was now focusing on my local counties, also being a part of different accounting institutions like the IMA, which is where I met Rich, and also being more open, because you have to be confident in yourself as a business owner. You can't be shy. We always get stuck doing the work. You're doing the work, that's great, but you can't hire people to do the work. So these are things I learned. You have to be a leader, not a worker. We're always built to be workers, but how can you grow a company or get into the federal sector if you haven't learned how to lead?
Right. Yeah, you've got to split your time between doing some of the work, but also focus on growing the business.
Yes.
Are you an established 8A then, from an organizational structure perspective?
I'm in the process of that. I've started my application. The SBA changed the program. It's now called the MMP, which is the mentorship. Is a mentorship program. So now I'm at the point where I need to find like a prime that's been in the federal government sector for a while that will be able to partner with my company and kind of walk me through the ropes of how the SBA works. Because the conversation and based on research I've had about the 8A program, the SBA decided to change it because they didn't feel a lot of small businesses were committed or fulfilling the task. So in this situation, which I think this situation is perfect, because someone like me looking to grow, go into the federal sector, having a mentor, that's priceless. A mentor has more resources than you. So all you're gonna do is watch what they're doing, follow their steps, and that will get you where they are. Because at the end of the day, hard work pays off. If you work hard, you get paid at the end of the day. So it's about what you put in. How much time are you willing to invest in yourself?
You know, what concrete steps are you taking? You mentioned we met at a conference earlier this year. Are you going to some of these federal conferences and looking for partners in the federal, state, and local space?
Yes, I actually joined SDFM after meeting Rich. You know, we had great conversations. You know, I met the team. You know, and also understanding getting into the federal sector, I need to be a part of other organizations and be a part of great leaders like Rich to see, okay, how can I network with these individuals that have been doing this business for years? I'm a newbie. Being a newbie, I need support. I need a mentor. And when we met, remember I told you, I said, I'm looking for mentors. I'm trying to grow, you know, so being a part of this and being able to speak up, talk to other affiliates and colleagues helps out a lot, because they can direct you to people that can support you, people that can provide you with the resources and the direction to go. So what I'm doing now is just taking my time, you know, getting some mentorship, increasing my network of accountants as colleagues, you know, being more involved in our communities and going for a lot of CPE classes and doing a lot of speaking engagement, trying to be involved. I'm also a member of the Howard County Chambers of Commerce. So it's about tapping into the resources that are right there. They're right in front of us, but it just takes time. You know, I can only do this because I really understand for me to grow, I need to sacrifice. And sometimes it means you taking time off, reducing your revenue, and just focusing on the internal growth and structure of your company.
Well, I look forward to getting more into who your mentors are in the next segment.
All right.
You're listening to The Business of Defense with my guest, Matthew Enekwe, founder of Crystal Star Associates. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Business of Defense, sponsored by the Society of Defense Financial Management on Federal News Network. I'm talking with Matthew Enekwe, founder and CEO of Crystal Star Associates. Matthew moved to the United States from Nigeria in 2003 and discovered his talent for numbers at Old Dominion University, where he earned his degree in accounting. He went on to pursue dual master's degrees in business management and accounting, as well as the Certified Management Accountant certification. Matthew founded Crystal Star Associates during graduate school, building it into the trusted boutique firm it is today. Matthew, let's talk a little bit about your journey from Nigeria, and I want to start with the name Crystal Star. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because there's a background to that I think is important.
Yeah, thanks for that. Crystal Star it's a name that's very meaningful to me. It was actually founded by my dad. My dad was a contractor in Nigeria. He worked with the federal government, providing library equipment and furnitures and students' desks and chairs for schools all over the country. So he started that business way back in the 70s. He grew the business, you know, through the business, he was able to train his siblings, you know, because his dad passed away when he was young. So at an early age, he had to become a man for himself. So through his journey, he created Crystal Star, raised his siblings, sent them abroad, And my uncle was sent to the United States. He went to school here, became a pharmacist, and my dad basically created and founded Crystal Star, and he passed away in 2005, 2 years after me being in the US, and that was my number one mentor. That was my champion. He taught me how to be the leader I am today, the businessman that I am today. I shared with you during when I was younger, during summer, a lot of kids spend their summer playing soccer outside. I spent my summer at the office with my dad. It was exciting, especially when I got to the age of driving. I got to drive him to work. So it was exciting. I'm going to work with dad. It's like you're going for business meetings with him. You're traveling to different states. So it sounded cool. It's like your friend asks you, what are you doing? Oh, I'm going to this state with my dad. I'm actually driving him. And they're looking at you. They're like, oh, wow. So to me, that was good. But what I realized was it's like my dad knew he was going to pass. So he started training me and instilling these qualities at an early, young age. So with that, it created the person I am today. He blessed me with all the characters, all the tools you need to be a successful business owner, and also to have that integrity and humility, and also to be a giver. He was very big on giving, because the way he believes in life, when you have those resources, they're not yours. You're just a custodian. There are other people who don't have access to that. So you're supposed to share out. You're supposed to assist others, see how you can impact. It could be knowledge, it could be financially, but you also have to be a good contributor to the society. So he built that in me, and I appreciate that, which is why I couldn't let the name go. So when it came around starting a business, I didn't have to think for a name. I knew someone left me. So taking that name was him being with me every day in my life.
It's Crystal Star 2.0. I hope you're not having your kids come into the office. I hope you're allowing them to play soccer. But how does that drive your leadership style in your office, the culture you're trying to create at Crystal Star?
So with culture is very important, because culture is how you keep, you have loyal staff. And also you have staff that is motivated, and also they buy in to your plans. If you set strategic plans for your business and your employees don't buy into that, you will not succeed. You'll be at the same spot. So part of that meant I had to be a good leader. I had to understand what it means, leadership from the top. You go to school, you hear it, you study it, but it's actually different when you have to put it into practice, because there are a lot of sacrifices you have to make, because you're a leader. There are times whereby there's no revenue. You're the first not to get paid. So that's leadership from the top. So even though when your staff sees that, they're committed to you, because you're making sure they're taken care of and the company is struggling. And also making sure you're available to them. You're also sensitive. One thing I did, which I'm excited that Crystal Star is doing, is every Christmas we shut down the office from the 24th to the 2nd. You don't come back to the 2nd. And that doesn't come out of your vacation time. You get paid for that, because that's a way I'm trying to buy in loyal staff. I do understand everyone has a family. I have a family. My wife is big on holidays, and she wants to make sure I'm not working. So, and that's my partner for life, because I can't be here without her, because we have kids. She has to take care of that to allow me to be adventurous in this world, because it's a risky world. So if your partner understands it's a risky world and you have that support, it assists with your leadership, because there's no distraction. The home is taken care of, so now you can focus on Crystal Star, going on seminars, taking advantage of government programs. Maryland State has conferences for small and minority businesses. They do that a couple of times a year. I go for that every year, because it's resources you don't pay for. The state is organizing it for you. They're providing information you won't have access to. You're also being exposed to a different, diverse group of business owners. So your next client could be in that office. Your next mentor could be there. So you can never tell. It's about being ready and always being ready and also being aware of your surrounding and taking advantage of those opportunities that are in front of you.
I'd like to talk a little bit about risk and risk in business. Obviously, being an immigrant, you may have a little bit different risk tolerance level than others. I mean, you took on a large risk coming here to the United States, pursuing your education here in the United States. So, do you think that's helpful? From an entrepreneur's perspective, as a founder perspective, you have to take risks and you have to be able to manage those risks. You're more comfortable with it than others might be.
Yes, you have. Part of business is taking risk. If you don't take risk, you don't grow. Taking the risk coming to the United States was amazing. Look at me now. When you think about it, you have to take risks to get what you want. If I didn't take the risk to take time out to sit for the CMA, I'm not going to be investing in Crystal Star. I need to evolve. Business world is changing. There's AI coming in. So if you're not taking risks to expand your technology or your use of technology because you're scared AI might disrupt your business, you're probably going to fail, which is why every business owner has to take risks. Jumping into this space as an entrepreneur was a huge risk. I thought about it. There are days I'm out with friends. They're doing well. They have 401ks. They have, you're hearing it. And you're just like, wow, I've been doing this for 5 years. I have no retirement plan. So that's a huge risk. Like, you're operating and you have no backup plan, but you're staying focused because you can't compare yourself to your friends. You can't compare yourself to other folks. They're with an institution. That institution was Crystal Star at one point before it became that large institution. They took risks to get there. So,
what are you doing today to better yourself, both personally and professionally? You talk about education, training, professional development. What are you doing? What are you focusing on? Is it technology?
Technology. That's technology. My mental, which is important, because you can't continue to run this business without, being mindful about your mental. I focus on technology because it gives me a cutting edge with other small businesses, other competitors on my level. Because when you invest in technology, there are products I can roll out to the client that my competitor might not have because they don't want to take the risk to invest in the technology. Because when you invest in the technology, it doesn't mean you use the technology immediately. The technology doesn't begin to generate income for you. So being able to do that and jump in, take that risk, when you present it to the client, it differentiates you from the competitor because you have products that they've never heard of. I have clients that small businesses, for example, you mentioned there's a software called Bill.com. It's amazing, they've never heard of it. But once you implement it into their system and they see how beneficial the system is, that's priceless. That's you just getting a free client because they never knew that existed. They used to spend all their time signing off on bills and everything. Now you create a system where they could be out with their kids, they pull up their phone and they can approve and pay the bills. And they see the invoices, they have everything. You create an audit trail for them that they never knew existed. So
3 to 5 years, give me a metric. Where will Crystal Star be? A percentage of business being in the private sector and in the public sector, federal, state, or local? What's your goal?
3 to 5 years, I want my goal in the federal government sector, at least 60% of revenue, because that's the rule of thumb. Then 40% on private sector, just with the experience I've had. So the goal is to dive into the federal government sector side, make sure I can grow. I've seen people grow. I've done my research. If you do your research under my NIST code, is $250 million available for small business owners. So I'm not asking for $250 million. Even if you get 0.5% of that, that's great. So the job here is to invest in myself, increase my networking opportunity, and see how I can get into the system and be like all the primes, all the subcontractors out there. So the goal is to be out there more, be involved with SDFMM, and also, be comfortable in yourself, believe in yourself, and take risk. If you don't take the risk on yourself, who's going to take the risk on you?
Well, we look forward to having you back in a few years and checking on that metric to see where you're at with it.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you. I'd like to thank today's guest, Matthew Enekwe, founder and CEO of Crystal Star Associates, for sharing his insights on Crystal Star's growth, its customer-first approach, and how the firm is positioned to continue developing top-tier accounting and management services to a variety of clients. Matthew, thank you for being on the show and sharing your expertise on what makes Crystal Star Associates an emerging small business in the finance and accounting sector. Watch The Business of Defense next month, where we bridge the gap between the boardroom and the battlefield, and between the flight line and the bottom line to advance the mission of national security. And visit sdfm.org to learn more about our defense financial management community, register for upcoming educational events, and our Certified Defense Financial Manager certification program. I'm Rich Brady, CEO of the Society of Defense Financial Management. You are listening to the Federal News Network. For more on this discussion, visit federalnewsnetwork.com and search SDFM. Thank you.